Hey guys, Bugcat7 here. Okay, it is Wednesday, January 9th, 2019, and I want to thank you for visiting the Stonewall Research channel here on YouTube. Thank you very much. It's much appreciated. Alright, today we're going to talk about alternative theories on who built the stone walls and the other stone constructions in the Northeast, because I think there may be some confusion or a lack of sort of complete picture on why people feel the way that they do about the stuff that went on here in the Northeast. And, some people may be very familiar with it. I don't know, but, you can find a lot of the information on my channel in any case. But I prepared a little list here, okay? So, we're going to be good detectives about this or whatever. So I want to take a look at, who may have built the stone walls, because I don't say that I know. And, I'm trying to figure it out. And, I know of all of these things, and, they're worth taking a look at. Like C.W. Saram said in his book, you shouldn't dismiss any of these ideas because it's a mistake to do that. And, while they're actively suppressing stuff and whatnot, we should really take a look at this stuff. So I'm going to try to get through it as quickly as possible for you, But just to relate, again, back to the mud flood, I neglected to mention in my last video that the Little Ice Age ended curiously in 1850. And it's interesting, too, that the widespread use of red brick with constructions, especially in the Northeast here, didn't happen until after 1852, when a New York Dutch guy started mass producing them in New York. So, when you see brick constructions, red brick constructions in the Northeast all over the place, which is a very sort of weird proto-Gothic constructions up here in the Northeast area. So it's very strange and very kind of creepy and whatnot. People say the stone walls and things are creepy. They're not creepy at all, I mean, when I was among them, I felt sort of like good energy from them. I don't know. I felt safe there, despite there being coyotes and bears and whatever around me, and giant horned owls and giant woodpeckers and all kinds of stuff up there. But in any case, let me try to get through this. And if you don't know about the alternative theories about, the Northeast here and all the different constructions, such as going back to Dolman, for example, we're really talking about Neolithic constructions, such as in Jim Vieira's videos, so you can see that with Jim Vieira's stuff, like this, for example, from Jim Vieira, okay? So you see these dolmen, and, despite what anybody might say about these things, I really believe that these, we don't have to get too complicated about it. I think these were just contests of strength, and even including the split stones. Even though there was a bunch of natural split stones all over the place, I think the split stones are also contests of strength, where these, maybe, large people were able to do this stuff. It's a possibility. But in any case, back to my list here. One of the, I'm listing these, by what these people, and, unfortunately, going back to the mud flood, and there's a lot of people, very suspicious of all the new stuff out, and, they're very skeptical, etc. Look, it's just a natural progression that these things be parsed. Okay, that data be checked and rechecked, because that's all part of the scientific process. That's all part of curiosity. You're not alive unless you're curious about things. So, I mean, it's only natural that these things get parsed out. So people believe different things, apart from mainstream. There's a lot of alternative people. And, some of these people think exclusively. They're closed to other ideas and they're set in what they think. And, not saying that they're right or wrong or anything like that, but that's what they believe. And they're free to believe whatever they want to believe. But there's a lot of people who believe different things. So let me just go through this a little bit because I can relate it to all sorts of videos that I have on my channel. And we'll take a look at that. As far as Solutreans go, we have Dr. Sanford here at Dr. Stanford Emerson from the Smithsonian, who found the Solutrean stuff, which is, like over 20,000 years old, European Solutrean artifacts. And, even mainstream, his colleagues and everything are very skeptical of his work. They're not really, they're highly skeptical of his work, very critical of his work. So even he from the Smithsonian is not, readily accepted by his peers. So, we have, Dr. Stanford there from the Smithsonian there, Emerson, with, his stuff, and of course Atlantis and Mu from, 12,000 BC. You have the people who believe that, there's people who believe, they don't believe that all the settlers and colonists built the stone walls, but they're buying the mainstream story, with the original peoples here about how they came across the Bering landscape and of their Asian, ancestry and Siberian ancestry, whatever it is, they're willing to buy the mainstream up until that point, but then beyond that, they don't believe that the settlers and colonists built the stone walls, but they're attributing these archaic stone walls and other effigies and whatever to these Paleo Indians. And, the Native Americans, at least their stories didn't really talk about that at all, and either attributed to an ancient ancestor or other peoples, and, their own stories of giants and etc. Like, well, we'll get into that a little bit. Then you have like the Celtic Irish, which, Phoenicians, I'm sorry, I passed by. You have the Phoenicians, which is interesting because, these are not new ideas, these are old ideas. So, and also, the Vikings. So you have the Ogham in Vermont. And so you have all these alternative ideas, the Celtic Irish. Jim Vieira mentions them in his video because it's so similar, the Cairns, the Dolmen, etc., etc. So that's another, alternative theory. And then the Vikings, again, with the Ogham found in Vermont and the red ochre burials, etc., etc. So you have these alternative history ideas that cover all of these different time periods, and I put the plus and minuses in there and the question marks in there because, even these people, all of these people in some cases go by the mainstream timeline, which, some of us, me, not buying. So, the official timeline, we're not sure when these things occurred or happened, but if we're buying into some of the ideas, such as like Velikovsky's, who said the timeline was also off too, and many other people, Isaac Newton, Anatoly Fomenko. There's many smart people who think that, the chronology is a bunch of baloney, and I'm very skeptical of that myself. So, In any case, let's take a look at the rest of this list here. Okay, so I put major alternate points of note that, sort of influence my ideas about these things. And one of those ideas is that there are megalithic cyclopean constructions here in North America. And see if I can find. Let's see. This is a Harry Hubbard video about megaliths in America at Browning Hill, and he has some interesting videos on megalithic constructions. That's such, as you can see from around the world, with these gigantic, rectangular blocks that look like they were cut, similar to elsewhere in the world where these occurrences happen, but not so much in North America here, but maybe there's a reason for that. But I've seen other videos with, cyclopean construction, possibly in Colorado and other remote places. I've seen videos of that, and other videos of other megalithic sites down south that are just, they're off the chart. They're not with the Adena and Hopewell and mound builders. They're just, in a whole different category. So you have that possibility going on, and I'm very interested in that. And of course, you have Velikovsky's World in Collision. North America received complete devastation. Grand Canyon was created by interplanetary electrical phenomena, so electrical stratification, so it's all sorts of electrical phenomena went on, and I think North America was exposed to this more so than elsewhere on the planet. But what you think is worldwide, like even with the mud floods, maybe it was, I think what some people have parsed it to being is maybe, a worldwide occurrence, but maybe it wasn't. As we were looking at the data in my last video, there was all this terrible stuff going on over a period of years. So, I'm led to believe that there was more than one mud flood. It seems to me that that's more like a euphemism for, something else, more than just one mud flood. So, in any case, related to Velikovsky and what happened here in North America is that, there's not a lot of evidence for this megalithic stuff because, just if you look at Thunderbolts and this fella Andrew Hall here in Thunderbolts, the arc blasted Earth. Okay, supersonic shock effects, supersonic and subsonic wind effects. I mean, this guy is a very intelligent guy on Thunderbolts, and he talks about what happened here in North America, especially and all around the world, with interplanetary electric arcing, okay? And it's just very interesting, and that's why, North America was devastated by something or other. Who knows what? Okay, so that's one idea. If you buy into Velikovsky's theories, and I do, I have a tendency to buy into that stuff. Okay, so rock carvings, men with beards, advanced artistry, Hudson's River Valley, Brighton Beach, Brooklyn Jetty art, other stone art. So there's all this advanced stone art. And one of those places is at Brighton Beach in Brooklyn, where you see these rocks that this jetty was made from. It obviously was, drilled out and removed somewhere and then brought to this area. And what's curious about these things, they say that this was artists doing this stuff in the 20s and 30s or something like that. But meanwhile, many of the faces in the rocks and the jetties are face down on the beach, unless they were carving the faces upside down on their heads or whatever it is. I find it hard to believe that they're doing. And all the, these figures have beards. The artistry is just highly advanced carving, rock carvings. And This may be evidence of an Atlantean colony here, which I believe is what was here. It relates to, possibly these large people who were here. And, this may go back to Atlantis and Mu theory, but these things, and I read from the book from the Library of Congress that the agents from the uh, Henry Hudson agents of his ship were interviewing the people around there. The Dutch had been there already, and he had noted how the Dutch had already destroyed a lot of the rock carvings on the sides of the Hudson River, cliff faces there. So it was busy being destroyed, and maybe this is evidence of that. I don't know, but I think it might be. Okay, so you have that intermediate advanced construction, and the reason why I say that is because, like Brian Forster says in Peru, with the people down there, you had these megalithic builders, and then you had sort of an intermediate period where they're still building with the same construction, very fine construction, but on a smaller scale. And you can see that in the Newport Castle. Jim Vieira in his lecture shows an old postcard of a construction. It looks exactly like that intermediate construction down here in Peru, almost identical to it. And they dismantled that thing to do road fill or whatever it is, but you can see that. And with the Newport Castle, they still don't know who built that thing. And that happens to be in Rhode Island. And it's inexplicable. And nobody's been able to really explain it yet. Okay? So you have that. And you have John Jensen with the ancient canals and artificial harbors and channels, Long Island area, especially here, where you have these 2,000 and 3,000 foot artificial harbors with complementary canals, and a history of that with the Native Americans here. And his research, talking about 5,000 BC, the level of construction. I mean, if you have 3,000 foot artificial harbors, I mean, what kind of vessels are coming in and out of there? And for what reason, and hence my research on it and what I say about a distribution network there going on prior to the Iroquois being there, and that there was their ancestors that passed that knowledge on to them, because they're a very highly evolved society. But we'll talk about that too. But John Jensen, I mean, it's just, part of this whole story. And shoot, do I have it here? No, I don't know. John Jensen is just part of the story. Here's the lady from Cornell that talks about the Iroquois and the 500-acre farms and along the St. Lawrence, and how they were producing millions and millions of bushels of food. So it's just very interesting. I don't have John Jensen's video here. I don't know what happened to it, but I have one in a playlist here, which you should look at, because all these videos are in there about this alternative history stuff and all these various different things.
A video for you today.
See the point, John Jensen stuff here. Let's see if app's playing here.
Probably one of the more fascinating sites that I did not make a video about in my original Ancient America series about 3 years ago.
But John Jensen goes over these ancient canals, and it can't be ignored. I have just a really short video in here. I don't know where the heck it went to.
That's the Osiris shaft.
Oh, there it is. There it is. Let me see.
That has been a big mystery. And after a video I do, I hope that isn't so much of a mystery anymore.
Oh, here we go. John Jensen, Ancient Canal Builders.
Further, I began to find
just interesting what Jensen has to say about this. And And this is like a news story on what, he found. And a lot of these artificial harbors are here on Long Island. And it just so happens to be at the end of the Hudson River, a main waterway. And, that's how people got around. That was the ancient highways there. So, look at this stuff that Jensen found here. It's just so amazing. And he says it's like 5,000 years old. So it makes you wonder what these people needed 2,000 and 3,000 foot artificial harbors and these vast networks of artificial canals and waterways. Just, something to think about. And then the giant humanoid type skeletal remains with double rows of teeth. I mean, you have the Paratus people, Brian Forster just did a video on them and about how the naturally occurring ones. And these people are a different kind of humanoid, from the Black Sea area. That's what the DNA shows, with blonde and red, wavy hair, et cetera, et cetera. So you gotta take that into consideration. So, and also these Algonquin legends that resemble Norse mythology. Also very interesting, this video I have in a playlist here by this Charles Leland back in the 1800s, and how he speaks about the Algonquins and how their mythology so closely resembles Norse mythology. Something else that, you can't ignore this stuff as a possibility, or all of them as being possibility, not just exclusively one thing or another. You have to keep that in context. You have to keep those possibilities open, because when something is not known and can't be known, all right, because even in mainstream, I have to give in my video Prove It with Richie there, the guy from New York State, the head archaeologist there, even he had the wherewithal to say with some of that stuff that, very little is known about the Paleo Indians and the woodland Indians. There's no skeletal remains that were ever found of these people, as far as he knows, I guess. And since there is no skeletal remains, there's no definite knowledge either way. So it's open to be parsed, and that's what people do. But they become exclusive in their thinking, which I think is a mistake. Okay? So anyway, about the Iroquois language, so complex, similar to the Basque, a unique and complex proto-democratic societal structure, high level of organization and distribution. So the Iroquois, the Algonquins, the native peoples of the Northeast were very different from the rest of the Native American peoples, in a lot of different ways that were unique to the tribes of the Northeast and different than those other tribes throughout the United States and in Canada, before you got down into the Aztecs and Mayans, et cetera, et cetera. But, we're talking different time periods and a different timeline and different environments. So, you have to consider these things. And I have those videos on my channel about how I talk about those things from very, scholarly books. Like the skeleton in armor, for instance. That was about the Newport tower there, that's inexplicable. And the skeleton in armor that was found, a little short skeleton in a weird brass armor that was found in Massachusetts, that was just extremely odd. And it was reported there, and, it was in Saram's book. And, Saram would like us to consider these things and not sort of brush them under the carpet, because he definitely thought that, you have to keep open the idea that there was chance migrations from Europe over to North America. Okay, so, and I guess the last thing is the walls are in inhospitable mountainous areas with no openings, a runty and short, artistic stylization, effigies, stylistic elements, and information in these walls. And, I mean, I'm not the only one who thinks that, I mean, the people who, believe that the Paleo Indians, did some of this stuff, think that too. But again, you can see this, this effigy eye in the wall of this, in Mount Ephraim, is completely, we're 1,800 feet up, right? And there's miles and miles of wall here. And I find this construction like I found in so many places around there by Jimmy and Springfield and whatnot. So this, the Native Americans never claimed to have built any of these things. And if the Paleo Indians built these things, the time frame is short enough for that to have passed as even storytelling or knowledge onto the, the Indians that the explorers found there. But when the explorers found these Indians there, they claimed not to do them. And in Mount Ephraim, we also found the dolmen. So there's dolmen there. So dolmen, really goes to Neolithic times. And here we found a dolmen, like I said, it's contest of strength. You can see up by Jimmy over there, this dolmen, this, couple ton stone with the smaller stone wedged underneath there. And the state of Vermont acknowledges that there are dolmen up in this area. So, and weird, mysterious stone constructions, they acknowledge it. So these are the, alternative ideas that you have to consider. And all of these videos are on my channel. You can see all that stuff there in the playlist and whatnot. So I'm just saying, we should consider these things. I don't know. And, you have to have the wherewithal to say, you don't know, and nobody can know. So these people who think exclusively about one thing or another, they can't possibly justify that with any facts or evidence because it's still open. And one of the issues with archaeology in North America, especially about indigenous people or their ancestry or whatever it is, it's not lawful to do that. You need special permission to do archaeology on sites, and you have to have the permission of the Native American people to do it, and some are not willing to give it. So, that presents a problem for, anybody trying to discover any additional information today, currently, and, without that ability to be able to do that, you might not ever get to the bottom of anything. So, in any case, guys, I just want to throw all those ideas out at you and have you consider them and see, where I might be coming from, too, about a different sort of narrative here. All right, guys? So anyway, thanks a lot for watching. I hope you consider these things. As I said, you can find all of these things in the playlists and videos on my channel. And, if you like the video, hit the like button, guys, all right? I would really appreciate it. All right, guys. Take care. See you at the next video. Bye now.